All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the 52nd episode of the SparkCast.
Woo!
Joining us today,
52.
yep, 52. That's a year if we didn't skip weeks, but we did. So,
Hey, they're only Christmas and Thanksgiving. That's not too bad.
well, only Christmas and you moving across the country.
Oh, yeah, it was that week. Yep, never
Right.
mind that.
Yeah, that. So, of course, this is Brian from Team Dakota.
Yep. Hello.
So, who are you and what are you doing here?
I am one of our two community managers, and as I'm talking to you, I'm trying to type in my password, and I'm finding it's very hard to talk while typing in my password at the same time. But
Without actually
I'm
saying your password aloud.
exactly. Um, so yeah, I'm one of our community managers working on Project Spark, and that's a thing that probably everyone here has heard of.
Which is,
A creation platform lets you create everything that you could possibly want: games, movies,
I don't
um,
buy it.
weird experiences.
I don't see how this is possible.
Well, I guess you should give this thing a try.
Yeah, this is horrible. Okay, we're move on. So, this is a bit of a freeform episode where anybody in chat who has any questions about what they want to talk about can feel free to interrupt and we'll change to that subject.
Yep.
Um, if there's anything you want to request from Team Dakota, whether it be a feature or content, go ahead and do that now. If there's anything you want to get an update on, as far as stuff that had been requested, where it might be along the way, uh, he's going to be able to tell us very little, I'm sure, but you can still ask him, and maybe he'll surprise us.
Maybe I will.
So the first thing that was requested before the stream even started was the owlbear. How much do we have to pay you in order to make the owlbear?
Uh, it's so funny. We were thinking about if we share this owlbear with the community, they're going to start requesting it just for the fun of the fact that it's an owlbear. Uh, I don't know. It would require. I think we'd be talking about a White House number level signatures, 25,000 signatures on "We want owlbear," and then we might appease you.
25,000. I think we can do it, especially with all the alternate email accounts we have.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that you guys are hesitant to share stuff like that because we'll then start to request it, but you do realize that we're just joking when we say that we actually do want stuff like dragons, and we don't actually really want stuff like owlbears.
Well, I should probably tell it to our artists who've already started working on owlbear and dropped everything else for you guys.
See, this is why we can have nice stuff.
Yeah. Um, no, I mean, we know it's a joke. We're working on some cool things. We have our content planned out for the next few months, long time actually. We have our content planned out for a long time, and we're developing things that people have been asking for. So that's gonna be exciting when we're hitting on things that you guys have been asking about.
It'd be nice to get a. I've seen this requested many times, so I'll go ahead and start here. Bones that would actually be associated with each element of a skeleton, so that you can put it onto a Codian Golem's frame.
I thought you were talking the concept of throw us a bone and tell us what's coming out next.
Oh, that would work too, so we can answer that part too.
Yeah, bones would be cool. I think you got a few bone pieces, but people want more, so
Right, it would be
it's a
cool
good
to have like a
request.
spine, a rib cage,
Mm-hmm.
two different arm bones. That's a technical term, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you have to have right and left side of these things in order for them to actually look right, as far as hands go. Because if you
Right.
have a hand like this and you try to beat it on the other side, you know how that works out. Anyway,
You have a backwards hand. That's what most people have, right?
I'm a monster. Uh, is it Arrested Development reference? No. Okay.
Yeah, I know that one with the hook and such. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So Corey wants everything, including lizard men, but mostly lizard men, and Nini wants llamas, not just owlbears. And mix a llama and a dragon, you get those the lamdagen,
A
lamagan,
llamagan
lamagan. Yeah,
or a drama.
a drama. No, we have plenty of that already. So
Yeah.
one of my things has been the sci-fi pack so far have been rather consistent. They've all been like focusing on the astrotechs and all their structures are relatively similar. With the fantasy packs, it's kind of been all over the map. Is season 2 of fantasy going to be a bit more focused as the sci-fi was, or is it going to be more of a spread like series 1 fantasy was?
So Series 2 of Fantasy has already begun, and Dungeon Descent was part of that. So did you enjoy Dungeon Descent?
I did.
Cool. Then you will like Series 2 of Fantasy, which, I mean, which hits on a lot of different stuff. But yeah, I mean, we had, what I'll say about the earlier packs is, like I think you'll look back at them and they don't look like they have, say, as much cohesion as the sci-fi packs. A lot of that was because some things were developed much earlier than other things. So that's sort of something you can run into. And with every single pack, our team has learned a lot, which is why every pack has been getting they've been getting better and better. And so you go back to the earlier ones, and things really worked. And actually, if you talk to the community back then, they really enjoyed those packs, right? Like I think I remember when Keys to the Castle came out, people thought it was the coolest thing ever, and now a lot of people in the community say, "Oh, that Keys to the Castle pack, oh."
Yeah, it
Um,
was good. It's like watching Independence Day. It was great at the time, but looking back, you wonder why you liked it.
yeah, I guess that could be an apt example. But we basically we had we built a lot of stuff before we had released anything to the community, before anyone had gotten their hands on Project Spark. We made a lot of content, and that's what Keys to the Castles was, Knights Barracks, Zombies.
So the ball was rolling before the community was involved in the feedback.
Yeah,
But
and as the community got their hands more and more on stuff, we started bringing back things and incorporating community feedback. The very first of those examples was a troll, which after hearing community feedback on certain things, we took another look at the troll and we redesigned it, and that's why the troll took so long because you had a lot more time respent on the troll. Adding in something like the Troll Foundation was kind of our very first semi-modular piece in a way that like one Troll Foundation piece was one thing that we just put in there to see like, does the community enjoy when they have square straight stuff, and oh yes they do, cool, all right, so we can make some more of that, and then we did that with Coding Archives, which had been in development for a long time also, and we added in more modular stuff for that. And then Dungeon Descent is another great example of that, where we had that all the way back in alpha early in the game. And if you look at the stuff from alpha, the stuff that you guys who were in alpha, actually I wasn't in alpha, I don't think you were.
no.
That was their favorite stuff from alpha. But if you were to go back now and look at that stuff from alpha, it's radically changed from that to the Dungeon Descent you have now, and it was fully based on community feedback. So the more time we get, the more we can incorporate community feedback and make better stuff. And so that's why you might think that the older stuff for some of you isn't what you want because it was created before we had from our core community the direct input from them.
So the stuff was in development prior to us getting
Yeah.
feedback in, and then as it was still in progress, like the finishing touches and stuff like that, as the community was still giving feedback. Has there been anything that started um, after community feedback had like very started, like planning anything after the community had started putting input, like
Like
entirely started?
Yeah, like a pack entirely started after community input.
Yeah.
Hmm. Let me think. I guess.
You can feel free to name them too.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking through. Like, it depends on what you mean by put together. We had a lot of stuff that was already concepted out that we only had concepts of. We hadn't put on the drawing board until after we'd already gotten community feedback on things. Like for instance, the Epic Artist World Builder. That we had always planned on doing terrain tinting, but we hadn't ever built that system until well into beta. And so we had a lot of learnings from the community to build that, and that's what we made. And same with leaderboards. Like we always had we just had this idea, this concept of leaderboards, and we somewhat toyed around with it, but then we didn't actually build out the feature until um, earlier this year. Same with same with Conquer. You know, he wasn't even announced till E3 last year, and he was after that was when concepting started. So that was about a year ago. So that was all well into beta that was created. Um, those are the kind of things that come top of mind to me. There's obviously some packs that we have developed that are directly based on community feedback. Some that haven't, the cool ones haven't come out yet. I mean, the one that, like the two that are directly based on community feedback that are already out there, actually three, are Thin Primitives. People wanted more primitives. The 2D icons pack, which there was this first version of it where we heard you wanted more icons, and we made a bunch of icons. Then the V2 of it, which was you guys want a lot more just primitive icons, so we re-added those to the pack. And then we have the
Shadowless, by the way.
yes, exactly. Shadowless also, which is a big request. And then we have the expressions pack, which was it was all gathered exactly from the types of emotes people wanted to put in their game. We went through and found the top ones, and those are the emotes that we created.
The non-action emotes.
Right, exactly.
So there have been a few questions that popped in, so I guess we can slide into these. Has there been any work done as to being able to make some objects transparent? And part two of that was make certain parts of the character invisible or non-collidable.
I guess I can say like those two both have been toyed around. It's they require quite a bit of work to work properly. They're we have a lot of stuff on the exploratory table of things that we're working on. Those are two things because they've been brought up quite a bit is transparent things and um, certain body parts on and off.
Right, like the heads, because we found out that was rather useful with the alpha character that you can manipulate not to having a head, which
Right, right, exactly.
which actually gives insight to why armor isn't available as props, because you can actually look inside the characters when they don't have heads, and you see the back side of them through that.
Yeah, the armor is actually basically the way to think of it is it's part of their skin. Like our armor set is kind of part of that modeling on the character actually. So it's like it becomes part of that prop.
As opposed to the coding golem, which is actually just actual props used as
Exactly.
character.
Exactly.
And there was one question I'm sure you're gonna love, being a big fan of Conquer and one of the driving forces behind the production of it. Um, have you been seeing any episodes of Conquer's Bad Fur Day being remade in Project Spark other than the what's it called the Great
The
Mighty
remade.
Pooh?
Oh, yeah, obviously Great Mighty Pooh. There was actually quite a few that came out with that came out like right around in a month after Conker's launch of pieces of Conker's Bad Fur Day. I think the most extensive one I saw was someone made a good 30 minutes to an hour of Conker's Bad Fur Day, the part where you have to get the get the beehive from the hornets and bring it back to the ladybee, roll the ball down the hill, and a few other things there. That was the most impressively put together. The one that is looking the most interesting though is there's one user who is still hard at work on a sequel to Conker's Bad Fur Day. This guy Bubba DJ, and they just released a like little look at the intro of it. It looks fantastic. Like it starts out just like as Chris Evert and others had envisioned. You start out as Conquer in a jail cell, and it's they did a beautiful cinematic job with it. I'm really excited to get my hands on that. And then obviously, I know Spawn 9 is
Right.
still working on their Conquer game, so I'm excited for whenever that comes out. I
I was
want them to take
expecting you
their
to talk
time.
about. I was expecting you to talk about him. I didn't expect Bubba to come up.
Yeah, well, because that trailer just dropped this week on Xbox. I just happened to like be browsing through all the Project Spark things that people uploaded on Xbox, and I saw that, and it's looking like really promising.
So is the level inside of Spark, or was it just a trailer on YouTube, or what?
So he just captured a game clip inside of Project Spark and then posted it up on YouTube, or not on YouTube. Sorry, it's just like on his feed. It's not on YouTube yet.
Oh, well, get him to post that out so you can retweet it. So I'm
I
curious to
know
see
you
it.
should. It's because it's looking super cool.
And the other thing was they were asking when are more episodes of Conquer coming out? Have you guys started work on those yet?
I can't talk about that yet, but yeah, I guess I'll be mumming that. We can't really say much on that right now.
Well, that's interesting. Usually when they say you can't talk about it yet, it means they're starting to think about it.
I don't know. Could mean a lot of things.
If you were to say something like, "No, we don't want to have plans for the moment," then I would think that you haven't started yet. That's just me reading into it, but based on all your previous word shenanigans.
Those are interesting readings into what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, obviously, when we have more info, we're gonna make a big deal about that.
Maple Platoon didn't get a sufficient answer last week, so perhaps you can fill him or her, I can't remember. Um, Fill them in. Is there an official afterlife lore to Project Spark?
Once you die, afterlife. I'm not sure actually. I'm now actually fully read up on the Project Spark lore and her story Bible. But I did not see any reference to what happens in the afterlife.
Well, clearly you just get added to the destroyed objects data set, object set.
That's true. That's a good point.
So what I had lined up here is a list of the old feature requests that we had originally been, teased about or requested, and we asked Mike, let's go for an update of these things, and he said, sure, go ahead and give it to me, and I'll do what I can. And then he never got back to us. So
Hmm.
the list actually starts out with multiplayer. That's how old this list is. So it's before launch, still in beta.
Right,
Obviously, we got that in October of 2014, October
right.
7th.
I mean, to clarify, for Xbox One, not on Windows yet.
Yeah. Then there were scoreboards, which are, of course, leaderboards.
Right?
We got
You
those
got that?
recently.
Mm-hmm.
Level linking, which came with a massive world builder pack.
Mm-hmm.
Terrain tinting, which came with the artist pack. Then there were
You want to say the word epic. I know you like. I know you paused on that word and then skipped over it.
artist pack. Um, Progress saving within levels. So we still don't actually technically have this, though we do have a workaround for it.
Right, yeah. Um, I think definitely more work can be done there, making it easier for you guys to create save states for your levels.
So is that something like how does that affect the prioritization of the save feature when you can do something about it currently, but it's not optimal? Does that mean it's gonna be higher because it's almost close to be done, or it lowers it because there's already something sort of analogous to it?
We don't really operate based on that. We always prioritize features, but we don't base it on do we have something in there and it's kind of works, or do we have nothing in there? It's more of I mean, we have a long vision of what we want to hit on, and then we also look at what are the top things the community wants us to hit on, and that's how we build out our list. And then it just so happens, if we think we have a perfectly sound solution in the game, then we say, okay, we don't need to worry about that. If there's an understandable, easy workaround, we don't have to worry about that. So for something like that, I would say we don't consider level linking the perfect solution to save states, to make it easy for you to make save states, because you have to set up a lot of stuff in order to get that working. So that would not be an example of something that we think is perfect as it is. Something that would be an example is I don't know.
Level linking for level linking's sake?
Sure, why not? I was trying to think of something that like a request that was recently made that you have and it's very easy to do. But nothing's coming to mind. I remember seeing a few recently where you have something that's like very easy to accomplish to get that. I'm just blanking on it. But like with that being brought up, the top community request out of all community requests was being able to edit and delete brain variables. So you get deleting with this title update. I can tell you we're working on the ability to edit as well.
And that'll be coming. Which update?
In the near future. We haven't locked down an update for that because editing variables takes a bit more work than deleting them. So I can't give you an update yet, but it will come in the near future.
So would editing a variable simply be like I guess in computer terms, refactoring, where you change the name of all variables by that same name, or just one
Yep.
tile at a time?
No, how it should work is you make a typo in your variable. You want to change that typo, so you just edit that variable and change the name of it.
And Thomas just figured out. Well, just reinforce why we call him Thomas the Troll.
Yeah.
So Rust Plague brings up another point, which we'll switch to and then switch back to anything else. Are we going to get a better look at the Void pack tomorrow?
Yep, you will. Tune into our stream tomorrow, and you will get to see it in its full glory. We're going to run through everything that's coming in that pack. So you're going to see the Void Corruptor himself, or itself. I think it's a non-gendered creature. I'd like to see a male and female version of that. That would be interesting.
No.
And then you'll get to see the props. I think someone who was really eagle-eyed saw actually the terrain paint that comes with it. We accidentally showed that off on one of our streams a few weeks ago, and then you'll see a few other things that come with that pack.
All right, sounds good. The next thing on the list after saving was one of the favorites. Glued props equal one prop.
Yeah, that's definitely. I can say that's definitely on the table as well. It's something that we do eventually want to get to, but we want to get to it in a good way, a right way. When you do things well and elegantly, and it just works, it just takes more time.
As opposed to the more brute force version, which would be, it technically works, live with it.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to do that. So it does mean that features take more time when you go for that approach, especially because Project Spark it's a complex beast. It's a thing where essentially you can make anything. So it's definitely more complex, meaning more time is spent on getting those features right. But for us, it's we are going to be here for a long time, so we want to spend the extra time to make things right and implement them so they're right.
I actually thought for a bit that the Creation Jam was a prelude to this, like a proof of concept that people can make assemblies within the confines of what it would be acceptable for the glued props equals one prop, and that would be if something had less than 40 total props, and if something had less than 10 unique props, then it could be considered one prop.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's what I thought the angle was on the Creation Jam.
I don't think that was, unless it was and I didn't even know about it.
Double reversal, I guess.
Yeah.
So the next one's a bit more open-ended because it involves a lot of different things. Importing external content, whether it be textures, models, music, UI elements, etc.
It's actually, I mean, it is on the tables. That is too. Like, I think Henry has said that in the past also. It's still on the table. It has, there's a lot of complexity that comes with that too. But that is definitely on the table still.
Is there any update on the lawyers?
The lawyers.
So the lawyers allowing stuff in.
It's more than just that. There's a legal aspect that we have to consider when people can just import whatever they want. What does that mean when you can just literally import an exact copyrighted item? Like what does that mean? Because right now you can whatever you create, you're not exactly using that copyrighted item. You're recreating it with the stuff that we have. So yeah, I can see what you're talking about with the thinking through the legal part of it, but it's also thinking through the interface of it, and also a lot of stuff would have to be built to support proper importing.
Understandable. And again, it goes back to the glued props equals one prop thing. You guys have to get it right the first, well, if not the first time, but get good enough the first time.
Yeah, I mean that's a much bigger idea. So I guess we'll see what the future holds for us. But that's like I'd say that's much more out there than gluing props equals one prop, because that's like in the confines. This is like definitely something that we're interested in exploring. But I can't say much beyond that.
So the one thing that I wanted to mention about glued props is sometimes when you glue props, it messes up the collision mesh. Like it becomes less precise. Is that gonna
Hmm.
be an issue, or is that one of the things you guys have already worked through, or what?
Well, yes, I can say that will definitely be an issue that has to be tackled when going through a new gluing system. Because when you glue everything together, it all becomes one mesh. So you need to have the kind of retargeting of that total mesh.
All right. And after that, we got to animal props with proper sockets. And this was brought up because before the wolf, before the owl, and even when we had the lobster, if you remember that thing,
Lobster?
the
You mean the
non, the
crayfish?
same thing.
Oh, oh, well, that's like then that's a prop though. That doesn't have any character movement stuff.
Yeah, that's who was like, wait, what? Oh, it's not moving, it's dead. All right. So we've gotten some of those. Is there more? Are there more animals on the way?
I can tell you there for sure are at some point in the future.
Are they currently in production?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's probably about as much as we can get out of you.
Hmm.
All right, so assembly slash
Oh, and
break.
also to the last point,
Yep.
we do want to address sockets of past things. That's definitely on the to-do list as well. So
So squirrel sockets.
we do want to. BJ's really gung ho about getting that right. So we're not going to leave the squirrel high and dry forever.
That's pretty amazing. But him and the bunny are really the only two I care about.
Yeah, just so you can give the squirrel a hat without putting it on its fire point, but instead its head. In the meantime, its fire point basically acts as the head. So if you want something to be on the squirrel's head, put on the fire point.
Yeah, because that was done in one of the Crossroads levels, right?
Yes.
Was
It
it
was
top?
also done in a great Creation Jam entry of kind of a Jack in the Box. Crank it, and a squirrel comes out wearing a top hat.
Nice. The leprechaun, I presume.
Yes.
Yeah. So the next one after that was assembly and brain sharing.
Oh,
Last
yes.
the last I remember
That's
hearing about this was a long time ago,
yeah.
so is this still something being actively developed, or should we just use Psycho's assembly slash brain sharing thing?
I would say it's on the back burner as we're working on other stuff. I'm not sure what the future holds for it.
But you
I don't
guys are
think.
working on other stuff that's cool, right? So we don't have.
Yeah, we are working currently for the time being. We're working on other things. Um, so yeah, for now, don't expect it within the next few months.
So I remember hearing a long time ago, I believe it was Mike that told me that the the way that you guys had drawn it up didn't make any sense, whereas each share would require an upload slot, which wasn't feasible. Was that the case, or did I mishear?
I'm not actually sure what like the initial design of it was. I actually do remember Mike talking about that with us. This was back when I was on the community, back at PAX East, I believe, something along those lines. So that could be the case, but I'm honestly not sure. I know there was we cooled on the idea for a bunch of different reasons. That could have been one of them, as just like the use of an upload slot. Therefore, why wouldn't you just have a world that has a bunch of assemblies in it?
Exactly. All right. So this one's kind of cool. Lineage improvements. Being
I would.
able to.
s- I would say from when that was put out, there were huge lineage improvements since. It now accurately tracks. Back then, if you remember when Lineage first came out, it didn't actually really track much of anything.
Right, and I think this was even referring to the Team Dakota creations also. Back when there was issues of people just remixing those over and over again to get 100% of the contribution value.
Right.
Yeah. Luckily, that seems to have died down, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, we also we do still actively, sometimes people do upload and we do actively remove them and also notify, at times we'll notify the user. So that's definitely helped.
All right. Sound bugs, and in parentheses I have fixing, not adding more.
Yeah, I think sound was in a bad place for a bit of time in beta, and it's gotten better and better, and I think it's at a pretty stable place at this point in time. We've had sound issues crop up where sometimes say sounds won't play or what have you. But I think especially with this most recent title update where we rebalanced I don't know, a huge list of sounds based on that was actually Word Andrew put that together based on what was just too quiet, what you really couldn't hear, most of the explosions you couldn't hear. So I think with that rebalancing, then you can have a lot of consistency with sound. We did a lot of sound improvements back when Conquer came out, so that sounds dropping out in your levels wouldn't really happen that much. So if you run into I mean, we want to know. If you're still running into sound issues, let us know. If you just say sound is still buggy, we don't know what that means because as far as we know, sound is pretty consistent for us. So if you think it's buggy and you tell us exact reasons for it, we definitely want to put that nail in the coffin of sounds are bad.
Right. If there's any more sounds that have too low a volume or too high a volume, let them know which ones exactly, specifically.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think this comes from when sounds were in a very bad place, where like they would just randomly drop out during levels and
Not
have
only that,
during
but
beta.
this is from when we didn't even have the sound volume options.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah,
That was grayed out for the longest time.
yeah,
So improved screenshots within the game. We still don't have like the icons or the effects showing up when you make screenshots.
yeah.
Is this
That's
something
true.
that would be an easy fix, or is this something that would be more effort than it would be worth?
That I'm actually not sure. I really couldn't tell you if that's easy or that's not. It's the only thing I can say is that we're working on other things for the next few months.
The next one was actually something that was added, and I think it was rather niche. I don't think a lot of people knew it exists now or how to even use it. Call page into other brains.
Oh yeah, that's right. And that
So
was added.
what does that mean, and why would you want that?
It's just it makes it pretty. It's a pretty nifty use where you can just have a bunch of brains and you don't really have to worry about creating new brains. You can just sort of have one brain call another one and say like, all of your code, come over here. Let me read it. Let me do stuff with it.
So it's sort of
So
like a
it's
multi-brains, but not without using the add brain.
There's also another thing in there where you actually get to read all the stuff happening in a brain. So I think that's a cooler part for people. That's probably what they're mostly asking for is the fact that you could have one brain look at another brain, read everything happening in that brain, and say like, "Oh, this thing has happened in that brain. Okay, that means this thing happens for me."
It sounds
So
like this
it's
would be a great tutorial stream subject.
I know it would be so great if we did a tutorial stream that was part two on multibrains that covered exactly this, wouldn't it?
Did you do a part two that covered on this?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, yeah. Because I remember I was looking for that on the feed that I have the stream recap, but I could only find the first one, so I guess I didn't write an article for the second part, or I
Yeah,
skipped it.
that's fine. The part two was like really in the weeds, and I think only like 10 people watch it, and they really enjoyed it. It's on YouTube, and it's not viewed as often as other stuff on YouTube. But the 10 people who watched it the full way through really liked it. Everyone else, it's just a lot of white noise.
As is the case usually when there's advanced stuff going on.
Right.
So Amnesia is screaming at us to give us music editors, or give the United States music editors. I'm not sure which.
Give the U.S. music editors.
So if that's, I know that was one of your passions, like music specifically. So have you been pushing for more custom music inside of Spark?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pushing incrementally towards that. I think the nice thing that we have going for us is we have music coming in with most of our upcoming packs. So, our Void Corruptor pack, that was going to have music in it. Our Dungeon Descent pack had music in it. So it's nice that we're getting a library of music. That wasn't me though. That was we contracted out to our lovely um, composer to make a bunch of different tracks themed out for different packs, which was really nice. Like there's definitely going to be some stuff that just it's music that you haven't really heard before. I think a lot of people agree with me that the music in Dungeon Descent is it's my favorite. Like one of the songs is I actually I'll be honest with you, I listened to on loop for like 20 times the first time I heard it.
Doesn't shock me.
um, but in terms of like music in general, it's something that I'm definitely interested in exploring. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when we're going to get to it. Um, I can. I know it's not what we're immediately working on, but it's something that I'm pushing for, and other people are pushing for, and it's one of our top community requests. So it is. It's very much on the books.
All right. Is there any chance of getting another separate composer for like a different look at music inside of Spark?
Yeah, we're instead. I think the easier thing, honestly, is to just make it so that you can bring in your or make your own stuff. We would probably look at that before hiring out, a bunch of different composers to make different stuff instead, because like once you go down that route, it becomes a rabbit hole of you're hiring a different composer to make music more in line with what one group of people want more than others. Some people really want orchestral music. Some people really want rock music. Some people really want techno music. And so you're playing into the subjective likes and dislikes of people. And with like each new composer, you're hitting on a small subset. It's just much easier to give them the tools to make it themselves.
It would still be cool to have like a Danny Elfman pack come out where you download all of his music that he would thought you would want to make for video games.
That'd be pretty cool. Be great. It'd be even better to get a John Williams pack.
Sure.
Have just like you say, hey, when you're done with Star Wars, could you make something for Project Spark?
Yeah, I mean, go make the rounds like for the Halo music guy or whoever's doing music for 343 now, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so next one. Where were we? All right, so this one's another niche one, scope control, sort of like global tiles, but more uh, functional, I guess.
I don't remember that one.
Me neither. I remember somebody else requesting it and then me thinking, I don't know exactly what you want them to do about this. Anyway, so I put it on the list.
Huh.
Next. Uh,
Yeah. I I don't even know what that is, so I don't know if we're doing it. Maybe we already did it with the campaign variables. I don't know.
uh, Next one was custom functions inside of Spark. So passing values in and out of functions or pages.
Yes. That
I
gets
guess
a
that kind of
bit.
falls into call page in other brains for the most part, isn't it?
Um, so it depends on like what you're asking there. If you're asking to in real time write content, then that's very different than just calling pages from brains and such. Like my assumption from that is someone wants to be able to set in real time what a text variable is. So like you input text and it can read that and such, and like it reads your input and creates variables based on that, which is you have to do quite a bit more to get that working now. So like all code runs on a read basis. It just reads the code and reacts based on that. But what if you could write code in real time? Maybe that sort of gets to what they're asking for.
Maybe. I don't
I don't
remember.
know.
I
I
don't
don't
remember
know.
exactly what they were asking for with that one. Um,
Yeah.
Going back to music real quick, people mentioned other studios having bigger budgets, probably. Have you guys considered like reaching out to other teams on Microsoft to see if they would let you use their music inside of Project Spark? The music had already been made and is already just part of your brand.
Funny thing is, maybe it was Alpha. We actually, at some point in Project Spark, we actually, our music library was from another studio. Um, I don't remember. I think it was maybe during the Alpha period. I'm not sure. Um, that gets a bit, it gets a bit trickier doing things that way. Like, you might think from outside, oh, it's all Microsoft, so they just can use their own stuff. But it's as far as I know, and I know little about the legal processes behind here, but I believe it's like it's actually based on the composer themselves, and like what their deal is structured as. And so I believe that it's actually not just free. It's just we can't exactly just put it in another game. I believe that that would cost additional money to do.
And the next request was by Amnesia, and Thomas already answered it sort of, but you can give it a shot. Um, Modern packs?
Modern stuff. Yep, community's been asking for that a lot. We we do want to create content the community likes, so we're that's something that we're thinking about.
So here's where I don't even know. Based on everybody just screaming modern, what is modern to you personally? Like, are you talking when someone says modern? Do you think they're asking for the like World War II military stuff, or do you think they're asking for steampunk or city living or Forza cars? What do you assume they're talking about when they say modern?
I consider what they consider because I can read their minds.
Sure, I'm sure with those however many letters that is, uh, 10 letters, they're saying they want exactly what they're thinking, right?
Yep, exactly. And I know the exact yeah. I so modern spans a wide variety. I mean, I guess sci-fi does too.
Yeah,
Fantasy does
exactly.
too.
It's like saying I want sci-fi stuff. Well, sci-fi is anything in the future that's science related
Hmm.
and fictional. So that wouldn't really cover anything.
Yeah.
You're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything, basically.
Yeah, I will say, like, just getting feedback from the team. We send along basically every request people make. The feedback that people find most positive is when if you like are requesting, like I will say I want a modern pack or I want a Japanese pack or I want like a Western pack. If you say in there like, yeah, I really want it because I'd like to make this kind of game or because I really like these kind of props, that also helps give us more context, so that we can make sure that whatever we're creating, we deliver on what the most people are asking for.
See, when I say I want a modern pack, it means I want to make a game that has a house with an open floor uh, concept on the first floor and a big kitchen with updated appliances and a big master bedroom with ensuite. Are you getting any of this?
Yep.
Modern? Okay, gotcha. All right, moving on
So
then.
you want to basically you want to make your house.
Yeah, I want like not my house, but a better house.
I want to make the house that I want to live in one day. Yeah.
Sure. I've been watching way too much Home and Garden Network recently.
Yeah, I mean, I remember actually doing that in a game like way back when. Well, it wasn't even a game. It was like a house making simulator, and you just could make houses, and I just would make these huge mansions just be like, I want to live here one day.
So the next one is clothes for non-humans,
Squirrel clothings.
or
Hmm.
Yeti clothes, or even more Codian clothes, for example.
Um. Well, I know based on our lore, there are certain characters that do not wear clothes. They don't like clothes. And that would be the troll and yeti. So don't hold your breath for those. For things like Codian, that the Codians are more human. They're based on human models. Those are more likely.
Well, here's the thing, though. According to my lore that I want in my game, the trolls do wear armor.
Well, if you look at Pointless Skies, Troll Warrior, whoa, that is a really cool design, and you can make awesome troll armor.
So what you're saying is you need to change the Spark lore to match stuff that people are making that's really cool, right?
Well, then we would negate his stuff. It'd be like us being like the expanded universe is no more. Um,
Exactly. Well, it'd be more like you guys being the one-upper. Oh yeah, you guys made a cool troll armor? Well, look what we made!
yeah.
Actually, I think people would appreciate that, though. Um, more body types. So, whether it be female brute, children, old person, etc.
Yeah, we have a lot of different bodies and faces and people sculpted out. We hope to get to all of them one day. Not like all of them together, but like over time, we'll like be like showing them out more. So you can definitely expect more of that for sure.
So, Project Sparker brings up another request. The ability to use snap to grid on smaller increments.
Um, Potentially. So this is just me playing devil's advocate for that. But if you have it on smaller increments, then it starts to get to a point where it's it's snapping to like too many grids, so it's much harder to actually snap it to like the exact right grid you want. Um,
Well, I
so
mean,
like
with the even with the dungeon pack, when you reduce the size by 50%, they don't align anymore by just snapping together. So if you had more increments, then they would be able to snap together eventually.
yeah. Yeah, there might be there might be other ways to go about that, like maybe giving you options to snap to certain ratios or what have you. Yeah, I mean, I'll say this is like I think this is one of the well, I think it's been like asked before, but if more and more people want that, let us know.
Rust Plague wants to know if Codians are going to get more love, and I'm not sure what he means by that exactly, but I'm going to assume he means more props and more content, rather than a female Codian that actually loves the male Codian.
Codians, you haven't seen the last of them.
Okay, well, look forward to that more of a. Are we in Series 1 still, or are we going into Series 2 for
Sci-fi, you're still in
sci-fi?
series one. Because so series one, oh wait, I don't think I can say this yet, but no, you're still in series one.
I know what you were going to say, and you really wanted to say it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. This is an interesting one. Pets pack. So I guess that's kind of modern. Well, it's also kind of fantasy too, with like
Yeah,
farm animals and stuff.
it's all the above. That's another top community request that we hope to get to.
Alrighty then. So we'll get to a lot of these requests.
Yeah, like with everything we have a lot of stuff planned out. We're not ready to talk about a lot of stuff. So like some things that people have listed, I can say like some stuff that either you've listed this hour or some people have listed this hour. We are working on, but we're never ready to say for sure until we have all of the stuff in place to make sure that, for instance, you start working on something and it just doesn't pan out. We like for instance I won't name the name of the character, but there is one character type we were working on for a long time in Project Spark that I think like
Owlbear.
people uh, not the owlbear, but something else people were looking for, and we got to a point where we just weren't happy with the results of it, and I don't think the community would have been happy. So we kind of we ended that character. We might get back to it again another time. But so like a lot of stuff I know for sure is in development, but in we'll like announce stuff as we know for sure they are not just in development, but they are at a done point, and we are getting ready to ship them.
Well, listen, if you guys are that upset about the way the owlbear turned out, we can help you. We can make this like a community effort to make the owlbear more palatable to you guys, so you can release it to us.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we'll call it Project Owlbear. Alright. So the next one was 2D mode. So in make Project Spark of entirely 2D assets. So this has been around for a long time. It's not just me saying it.
Hmm. It's like it's a big order, and depending on how you think about it,
Well, just
either
make
it's
Mario
already in
Maker.
game, you just put in the 2D side scroller brain and done 2D mode.
No, no,
Um,
no. So I guess this is more like asking for like a Mario Maker representation in Spark,
yeah.
because you already have a lot of stuff built in that would make this so much better than the Nintendo version. We just need the assets and stuff like that to work with it.
Yeah, that's like stuff like that this what I would call the scope of it is like hard to define because for instance, like if you're saying make something like Mario Maker, that's like a totally different engine and basically it's like Project Spark 2D. It's like a totally different Project Spark. Or if you're talking about,
Shut up and take my
something
money.
or if you're talking about something else that is like it's just a 2D overlay within Project Spark, then that becomes something that we could see more as a feature. So yeah, like we have a lot of people asking us about 2D. I I know like 2D's big to you guys, and the more we hear about you from like what you mean when you say 2D helps us as we're planning stuff out.
Well, I mean, I would even be fine with cards, right? So you could have one layer of cards that the character stands on, and that's like the gameplay layer. And then there's a foreground layer that we have some transparent or um, just maybe some occasional columns or whatever to block the view a little bit, so it looks like it's a 3D space. And then obviously the background. Um, and a lot of these things can be if we have. The problem is if we're going to use just icons, there's only 120 icons that we can use at a time. With
Hmm.
props, we can expand that dramatically. So that's why I'm thinking cards may be a more reasonable solution here.
Hmm.
That you can place prop like cards a whole lot easier than you can place icons.
Yeah.
So have you guys delved into this at all, or is this like still we're not giving you enough information to move on what we want you to do?
No, we definitely delved into it. I can say that, like things, there's so much in when you go into the 2D realm. So things like cards, we've delved into, thought through. Things like UI editors, we've thought through. Um, things even things like the full 2D overlay. I mean, you know, Project Spark was in development for 4 years, so really everything under the sun that you guys could think of, we have probably a design document somewhere for it. Um, some of the stuff we might be looking to revisit at a certain point. I will say like more feedback, like Nini here gave this wonderful long piece of feedback on like exactly how in her mind a 2D not a 2D but a UI editor might look like, and it was done really well. Our team was really impressed by how well it was done. So like something like that takes a lot of time and effort, but it really gets noticed from our team. So if you are really gung ho about 2D and you want to see it implemented in a way that you feel would work, if you really want to put in the time and effort and put together something like what Nini did, that really gets noticed from us and really like makes us think through as we're thinking through stuff like that, like what we might incorporate.
All right, sounds good. I'll actually probably do exactly that with like Castlevania Symphony Night as an example or something like that.
Yeah, sure. Like, I
Um,
mean, we're just in general, as opposed to like other communities. I'm biased probably because I'm part of a community. I love this community, but our community is amazing at like not just telling us we want this thing, but they actually build exactly like here's what the mock-up of it might look like, and here's how it might function, and it's this amazing thing. And so we really do take those ideas and like sometimes people have given us such good ideas where we'll like sit in a room, we'll say we want to use that exact idea. Will we be sued by them if we just make exactly what they want us to make?
I think you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like just it's a lot of work. You guys do. Everyone in the community does so much work. It's insane how much work you guys do for like just bettering it and giving your feedback to us in a good way. but it really doesn't go unnoticed, and it has helped us honestly. The stuff that we're planning, like just make it better because we've seen exact examples of what you want, and that really helps.
So how much has the community feedback directed like the overall scope of what Project Spark is going to be doing?
Very, very much like in it's basically the roadmap, which the roadmap going forward, just our future. It's we kind of base our future on where you guys want us to go, um, and like what we need to build to make our community just happy with everything about how the product works. I mean, like the best example I can give is it was a few months ago that we started really tabulating, not just like making sure your feedback was heard internally, but actually having a full like archive of every single piece of feedback given to us. And that's when we found out that deleting editing brain variables was the number one request of people. A pretty obvious request for people, just getting rid of those typos staring at your face obviously is like a huge thing.
And
And
it takes time out of finding the correct one when you want to use it later.
yeah, exactly. It just like made so much sense, and so immediately, when we saw that, we said, okay, let's do exactly that. So that is really that's an indicator of like what we want to work on moving forward, and also like things that based on what you're telling us, we know the like next step of what you would want.
All right, that's a pretty great answer, actually. Um, this next one is kind of funny because it's so old that we don't even think about it anymore. Giving Spark Premium users access to day one content released with using credits.
Yeah, that was an idea from Swarmhammer actually, and
Well,
his
he was the
idea.
most passionate about it, but I remember people talking about that before he even mentioned it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that the funny thing is like community gave that idea and we literally did that exact idea.
Well, it was the reasonable thing to do.
Yes,
I
it
didn't
was.
I didn't think we had to go all Swarmhammer on you, but evidently that's what kept notice. That's what took notice.
Well, yeah, I think Swarmhammer was like the every time Mike talked about like how can we make premium better, Swarmhammer always said, "Do this," because I was that was back when I was part of the CAG also, and we were like he was always asking about that, and the CAG was always saying to do that. And it the community makes logical arguments 90% of the time, and so we factor that stuff in.
No, Mescad, get rid of Spark Time is not on the list. This was well after Spark Time.
Yeah.
I remember I made a post about that. What was it? Around the same time as our Twitch plays Project Spark, right?
Hmm.
And then after that, it never came back.
Yeah. That was probably at the point like actually getting rid of Spark Time was a very like it set the tone for us moving forward in Project Spark. Because
Threw everything
like
into chaos.
what?
It threw
Yeah.
everything. That was your.
Yeah, like it's basically we're a free download, and so for lots of free downloads they have things like that, and we threw it out the window and we said, all right, let's be different than everyone else. And we're like striving towards that where we just say like even though we're free, let's be different. We care a lot more about people making cool things than
Making a
like
buck.
yeah, exactly. That's like it's more important to us and it's more important to Microsoft. That's why they spent so much time on Project Spark. Like those years of development and like all the time was not to make something that we could like that we could make it this huge profitable venture. It was to make something that would like be this great educational pillar that could be built on and like hit kind of both sides of the spectrum of like those people like the kids who are really interested in getting into development and they just want the full package, and then the people who are older, people like me, who are just really curious about that stuff and don't want to make our own art assets and want like 50% of the stuff to be there and just play around and mess around with it.
Real quick question. Another thing was the tour was made recently, but
Yes.
people level 5, couldn't access it. Do we have an ETA on when people will be able to access that?
Yeah, I'll be honest and I'll say that's a lower priority for with us for now. It does take development time. We're working on some things that I think are like higher impact to our creators, but it's definitely something that we do want to do.
So it'll be done, but after some really cool things are done.
Yeah, that's how we kind of look at it. It was either like could we let's work on these things that people are asking for, or let's do this thing that like people kind of want as well,
Because
but
it'll give them some
maybe.
credits and some achievements, and that's
Yeah,
about it.
but well, no, there's no achievements are tied to that. It's just when you're going through the tour the first time, a lot of achievements will pop for you because of
Ah,
certain things you're doing.
gotcha.
Yeah, there's no new achievements added to the tour.
All right, makes sense. A few things I'm going to group together: quadrupeds, modify world properties through code. Um,
Ooh, both those are done.
yep. But where would you state the quality of quadrupeds? Are they where you think that you want them, or do they still need more work?
We need just more quadrupeds.
Yeah,
That's what I'll say. Yeah.
because the length of leg and all that stuff makes a difference when you're using quadrupeds. Because sometimes they have different motions, but whatever. Um, and so the other things, I know we had talked about non-uniform scaling of props being like a distant future thing. Is it still off the table, or
Not off the table. More distant than other things we've talked about. More distant as in we may get to it, we may not get to it.
rotating brushes?
That is higher on the priority list. I would say you're more likely to see that than uniform scaling.
Non-uniform scaling.
Yeah, sorry, not uniform scaling.
We will never see uniform
Guys,
scaling
you
again.
have uniform scaling already. Didn't you know that?
Uh, rotating UI icons.
That is also more up there with rotating terrain brushes.
And here's a cool one: the troll or alpha props. Are there any props from alpha that are not yet into the game?
No, there were props that were basically look nothing like they did from Alpha that were the basis for the dungeon props. But trust me, they're so much better than they were in Alpha, so don't worry about it. Yeah, so
Even the
all
knight
the
is slightly different now than it was in alpha,
yeah, like the only thing I think is different is you had this like soldier
with a
type
hat,
character with like the really funky hat.
a fedora or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I that's like actually you can still find that in I think like if you search, there's some level somewhere
I still have the
actually
assembly.
in Project Spark that you can like get that exploit to get that character type, but you'll find he's not really too interesting.
But he's nice because he's the headless one. So you can put like a flame inside of his helmet, and you have a ghost figure.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
funny that we know about that and we're not doing anything about it.
well, it's because it's not. It is buggy as heck, right? If you try to put some code that didn't exist when it was made into it, it
Yeah,
won't properly function. So I mean, we're dealing with a known exploit, so we can't really fault you guys for not supporting it.
yeah, exactly. What for those who don't know, I'll be fine talking about this on the record. Is you can get to some of our old alpha characters, like really old alpha characters from really old levels shared in Project Spark through like some fun exploits. I forget which ones, but
Swan Song.
okay, yeah. And there's actually a few others too, and you can use those, but they're if you click on like basically any of the clothing options, it'll crash your game. If you do like
Oh, I didn't know that problem.
it's yeah, it's basically 50% of the time using that character. If you click on any of its options, will crash your game. So we enough people have actually used that I think it would actually, if we ever removed it, it would break a lot of stuff, which is why we're really hesitant to remove that. But just use it at your own risk, please, because it was very alpha, very very broken.
Yeah. So just don't expect it to work properly if you do use it. But they are
Yeah,
fun to play with and look at
and
and
yeah, and
recolor.
don't expect us to go back to that stuff too, because it's broken early versions of what we were working on.
Uh, one thing that's on the list, sort of, that I want to just specify because it wasn't exactly specified. Um, scaling down props below the, what is it, 10 centimeter limit.
Yes.
So the issue, I believe, is that they have to be non-collidable after that point. Have you guys worked on
Yeah.
like a toggle or anything that would like say, allow me to scale down lower knowing that they'll become non-collidable, or
I am not sure where we are with that. It has been tossed around, but I'm just not sure where we are with that idea of you can scale it below. What it is basically on any side, it can't be thinner than 10 centimeters because after 10 centimeters are like bounding boxes, those just don't work anymore. They collapse in on themselves, and therefore you can just pass through that item. Like the biggest thing that you can easily see that with is thin primitives.
Right.
They're thin, so they're going to get down to 10 centimeters at like I think at like a certain scale. They'll get to 10 centimeters thick, and you can't bring them any smaller because then you'll just be able to pass through them. And I'm just not sure
Right, because
what
sometimes
the
it'd be
ETA is
useful to
on that.
be smaller even if you don't expect to collide with them. Just as like a superficial augmentation or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
hmm But it's more than just that. Like if it was just the fact that we if you could scale them down, they would be non-collidable, then we probably would have included that. But it's actually there are reasons with our engine that we actually would have to change for that as well.
Okay, so it's not just a simple flip a switch. It's actually
Yeah,
okay.
it's like our engine's ability to understand stuff. And that's like it looks for the size or the sides, things like that. So yeah, we actually would have to change up the engine a bit.
Well, sounds like like something further down the road, but still something could happen.
Yeah, I'll say that, I guess.
Okay. Uh, that sounded rather enthusiastic, but okay. Um, the final thing is improved searching through UGC, like with tags, searching for username, that sort of thing.
hmm
Any work done on that? And
Um, I know our services team is planning out what they're going to be tackling throughout the rest of the year, and it's a lot of good stuff. I actually they're just in the process of that, so I'm not sure. I forget if that's on the list or not, but like we are going to have some focus in the near future on feeds along with other stuff.
all right, if anybody else has any questions, we will answer them real quick. Brian, is there anything new coming this week that we should be aware of?
Um, Tomorrow's stream will show off Void Corruptor. So if you want to see all the stuff that's in that pack, I think we will not only reveal all the stuff in it, we'll reveal the price, and it comes out July 9th.
That's next Thursday.
Yeah, next Thursday. And I think like you're gonna see some stuff in there where it's like there's some really cool, useful things. I think it's going to be. I think it'll become a core pack. I'll be honest and I'll say like I don't think anything for a long time is going to be as good as Dungeon Descent for me. But this is still like it's still a really really good pack.
Yeah, Needy and Aries seem to like it when they visited the studio.
Yeah, cool thing is when they were here, Needy and Airy, that was like one of their favorite things to play around with is the props that come with that pack. And Eris made a this like awesome void human form, and then Nini made this really cool void dragon that actually we have that even though like we actually shared that externally in one of our videos somewhere before we even announced the pack a while ago.
Was it part of the
So
Creation Jam video?
yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there was if you saw like this black outline of a dragon that uses one of the void props, or a few of the void props that are part of the pack.
See, I was thinking that it was like the Codian Archives metal bits that made that thing up.
No, it was void stuff.
No, okay then.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. And Friday's stream is same time.
Nope. Friday stream is not the same time because Microsoft is closed that day, so we will not be streaming on this Friday.
Wait, you should have a stream about fireworks.
Like the I don't know if you're a fan of 30 Rock, but like the 1 hour special on fireworks. It's
Did,
like oh, there's like a Jack Dunny wanted a every week 1 hour of just watching fireworks on on like broadcast TV.
and that went over great, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, Corey would appreciate it if you guys did that.
Yeah, that's true.
So you guys are closed on Friday. I guess the next question is, got any plans for the weekend?
Um, yeah, I'm gonna be working on some Project Sparkwise. I will be working on some cool stuff. I'm getting to a really good point on my like on my level. I've been having this like the bigger game I'm working on. I'm having a lot of fun with the dungeon props, making my dungeon. Like
You sound
I've
a
had
little
so
creepy when
much.
you say that, though.
No, I've had so much fun with combining the dungeon stuff and the Codite stuff to make this really like nice ethereal looking dungeon. Okay, so pro tip for you guys: when you're working with dungeon props in a pitch black sky, where you just use light bulbs as your light sources and the dungeon props, it just looks amazing. Like it just looks absolutely amazing. Going for pitch black sky and just using light bulbs to light whatever surfaces you need to. Just oh man, it sets such a perfect mood for your dungeon stuff.
I thought you were going to talk about mixing in other packs with the dungeon set, like the Arctic pack or stuff like that.
I didn't. I mix in coding and archive stuff, which works quite well with it actually. Like the gate and such. And then I think I use like a bit of the metal pieces for holding fire, things like that. Obviously, the ancient shrine treasure trove item, which we had, I've used that quite a few times because that does actually. We intended that as a companion piece to Dungeon Descent because it actually works quite well with all the dungeon stuff.
And next week, do you guys have an idea of what tutorial you're going to be doing on Tuesday?
I believe Thomas will be covering how to make a cover-based shooter.
Oh, I wonder why he knows how to do that.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, it's, if I'm gonna be very impressed if he pulls off how to make a cover-based shooter in just an hour from like scratch.
Well, he's going to be like, all right, so using these assemblies that I made in another level,
Yeah,
you plop them in, and you're
maybe.
done. Yay!
Yeah.
All right, so on that note, we're actually about 20 minutes over, so I hope we didn't keep you for anything too exciting, um, or from any meetings or whatever.
You just kept me from making the best thing ever for the community, but I guess I won't do it anymore.
That's fine. The community doesn't like you anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's every question. Shooting from under covers or shooting at monsters in the closet? Anyway, all right, so thank you guys for joining us on the SparkCast. Thanks, Brian, for joining us as well.
Yeah, really. Thanks, everybody.
All right, sounds good. So we're going to call it a night, and we'll see you uh, throughout the weekend next week on the next SparkCast. All right,
Indeed.
all right. So good night, guys.
Bye.
All right, so we're off. What's the next pack after Void Corruptor?
Oh, you mean the Lizard Man pack?
Yes, I mean the Lizard Man pack. All right, I tried. All right, night.